Hello and welcome to Street Aesthete. This is the show where we explore street view coverage of a noteworthy location, looking out for beautiful architecture and stunning scenery, while I amuse myself by making remarks about what we see. Today we are going to be exploring the Portuguese town of Aveiro. This is a place known for its canals and colourful boats, according to Google. So why don't we start down here and head into the centre of town. Okay, welcome to Portugal. Not perhaps the sunniest day we might have imagined. And already we begin to see some of the beautiful blue and white pattern tiling that is very characteristic of particularly this part of Portugal, but as far as I can tell, all over. Really adding some visual flair to the buildings here, in what is otherwise perhaps an unremarkable scene. Although now that we start to see this more sunny coverage from March 2023, it does start to have a bit more of an appeal about it. Even though this is a fairly bland facade, when the sun hits it, it starts to look good. And actually, I say it's bland. The curvature of the railing here is quite nice. It's got a little bit of the kind of 1930s Art Deco about it. Some of that sort of past futuristic design. Even though I'm sure that these were designed and built a fair bit later. So I'm not entirely sure what to expect from this place. It's not one of the biggest towns in Portugal, but while I was exploring the map, looking at the images for each of the towns, this one was noteworthy for its lovely canal scene. And so I'm hoping we're going to come across that canal and see something beautiful. I wonder how it will compare to the San Antonio riverside in Texas that we have seen in a previous episode. As ever, we see the scourge of all modern cities, graffiti. Although Disculpa, I believe, is sorry, so at least we've got apologetic graffiti artists and a rather nice street name here, a nice bit of signage for it. It's nice that it's done in tiles. Fountain doesn't appear to be working just at the moment. And again, we've got a new building with a nod to the vernacular, with this kind of tile pattern, not as distinguished as some of the other tiled buildings that we've seen further down this street. But at least this is a modern building where the designers have tried to make it fit in with what's already there. And here, more of a classical sort of a shape on top of this building, but with what I would think of as a kind of a Portuguese flair, a little bit more of a jaunty curvature, and then these kind of red tiles on top. Very lovely. And if you haven't spotted it already, I'm sure you'll notice that it's going to draw my attention. This is a very interesting facade. Interesting in the sense that, in terms of the shape of it, this reminds me almost of something we might see in the Netherlands or in Belgium. But where we would normally expect to see something like that in red brick in those lowland countries, here we've got this sort of glossy green brick. More of that same glossy green brick next to the red here. And a bit more tile variation as well. I like those warm reddish brown colours. Okay, and it looks as though we're beginning to approach a bit more of a main road. Some very handsome structures here. Interesting. I wonder if this is coincidence or a reference, but that looks rather to me like the white rose at the House of York from the north of England. What a wonderful sunny day. Nice day to be set out at a cafe, having a beer by the looks of things, and next to the tiles. Very lovely scene. It's a small town in Portugal. Ooh. Let's see if we can pop back out and have a look at that church. But even in small towns like this in Europe, there's often something noteworthy to take a look at on the street, in terms of architecture, in terms of the historical heritage of the place. Okay. I'm going to take a tentative step forward here with the keyboard, and I wonder if we can find some slightly different coverage where we don't have the building work. April 22, looking nice and sunny. Here we go. Whoa! Look at that! There was this whole sort of columned arcade here before. Now gone. I wonder why that is. Beautiful spiral column there on the sides of the main door to this church, reminiscent perhaps of the narwhal tusk. I wonder if that was something that was in vogue at the time that this was built. In terms of when it was built, if you pushed me to a guess, I would have said, you could certainly see architecture in this style in as early as the 16th century, but there's something about this, perhaps the plainness of it to some extent. I mean, it certainly is ornamented, but I sort of mean the lack of extra ornate carving around the edges that makes me think this is possibly a bit later. And then we've got the museum here, next to these sort of cypress trees. I'm not sure if they actually are cypress trees. Certainly some kind of fir tree in that kind of genus. And we begin to see some of the tiled paving that is very characteristic of a lot of Portuguese towns, and that you also see in some cities in Brazil, where of course there is a strong Portuguese influence because of the colonial history, and a very lovely classical design over the door there. Crest here. Very beautiful. I love the kind of the whitewashed main body of the facade with the sandy stone highlights. Very beautiful. Alright, I think we'll leave the main road here and sort of head into the next layer of the town. I think we're perhaps heading in the direction of the canal. This doesn't look like it's going to be the right street to go down, so we'll take a step back and go down this one, I think. A shady arcade here. And where shall we go? This way, or perhaps down more into this more tiled, this more interestingly tiled area of the street here. Different symbols dotted amongst the diamond shapes here. Ooh, I think I'd like to be over there. But I'm not sure quite how we're going to get there in the coverage. This might be a moment where we need to jump. Okay, reorientate ourselves. So we've come from over in this direction. Very lovely. I like the little details of the curved shapes here. And it looks as though we're proceeding towards the canal. Taking a glance at the map. We've got a bit of a square here, a bit of a plaza. These kind of circular bubble pattern tiles. I wonder if we can get over there in the coverage to take a bit of a closer look at that statue. Not exactly. But now we do have a better view, in fact, of this church over here. Often Portugal has a real wealth of historic church buildings. And here we go, our first instance of the Portuguese flag. Nice to see it flying proudly. And we have the secondary school, Homem Christo, Men of God. Men of Christ, perhaps. See if we can jump back over there. Oh, perhaps not. I was hoping to get over there to that bit of red building there and take a closer look. Oh, we could jump to one of these photospheres here in the middle of the Platz, perhaps. Here we are. Really lovely from this angle, the way we see each bit of street flanked by, well, pity about that, each bit of street flanked by something, if not historic, then at least classical in design. I think this is a bit newer. A real shame about this thing. I mean, why they felt the need to put this great ugly block on top of something that was otherwise really quite attractive and in keeping with the historic architecture of place is beyond me. But in any case, I think we've seen just about enough here. Okay, we've managed to jump back across to the other side of the square. Oh, and they've put some advertising on that block. Perhaps that was what it was for in the first place. Maybe not. Maybe they knew it was an eyesore and they tried to make it at least a little bit more visually appealing. And there's that red building. Slightly less distinguished from up close than it looked from afar. And we've come to a major roundabout here. And I think probably the most interesting thing we can see, if not this little row here, which we will certainly come and take a look at, is this, the Aveiro Palace. A hotel, not in fact a palace. I would have been surprised to see such a relatively new looking building, although of course in a historical style, right next to a roundabout like this, and it looks as though they're working on some kind of big water centerpiece. Really, really nice, the details above the windows here. Again, a little bit of that kind of curved Portuguese flair, or at least what I think of as Portuguese. Let's take a gander over here. Wow, and a really lovely little plaza here. An obelisk, and some more of the beautiful blue tiling, and oh, here we are. Here is the canal that we came to see. What a glorious scene. On a sunny day, at least. Wow. Woohoo! Now that is very special, isn't it? Let's take a moment to really admire this. Really beautiful on the ground floor. Very inviting. The power of 3 in design here. The symmetry. With this lovely flowery organic design mirrored on each side. Again, the curved detailing. And the top to cap it off, with a little bit of elaborate masonry at the very apex of the building. Absolutely gorgeous, really stunning. Let's take a step forward in this direction and take a look at this one now. Now here we have something equally decorative, but perhaps a little bit more formal. I was almost going to say austere, but it isn't austere. It's got a real kind of joie de vivre about it, hasn't it? Bursting forth. Looks as though we could do with a little something in the centre there, or perhaps it's nice left blank. Région de tourisme Rota da Luz. Region of tourism Rota da Luz. Rota of something of light. Not sure what rota is. Oh, maybe list. The list of light. A little bit rusty on my Portuguese, but well, you can let me know in the comments how I do translating. Well, we've made it to the canal here. I think there's certainly going to be more to see in the town of Aveiro. So we're going to pick it up again in a second episode. If you have been enjoying the music that you hear in my videos, then do go and take a look at my first channel, which is where I upload all of my original music. Stay tuned for part 2 of our exploration of Aveiro in Portugal.